Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. So as you can see, if you're watching the video aspect, I am in a new area. I am currently trying to make this little small room into a studio rather than a bedroom. Yeah, so this is where I'm going to hang out and do these podcasts. So, with that being said, today's episode is episode 57. Holy shit, dude, I am getting there. Anyways, today is with Jessica Jones. She goes by the Cryptid Huntress. She has a shit ton of stories. Um, we could have probably talked for hours, maybe an entire night. But you know, she had things to do, so this is probably one of her shorter appearances. So we're gonna have to get her back on for part two. We discussed Bigfoot and some of her encounters and how she was a little hesitant on coming out with a lot of her encounters and the things that she does, like the investigating and the hunting of or the search for said Bigfoot. So, but anyway, she's a very lovely person. I adore her. The guys over at Cryptid Warfare, Drew and Z, they both highly recommended her and definitely told me to get her on. So I did so, and she was more than happy to come on. And yeah, so without further ado, that is that. And if you want to be featured on the show and tell your encounter stories, please hit up my email at wheretheweirdonesiare@gmail.com. You can also get me on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram's where underscore the weird ones are, and Facebook's just where the weird ones are, you know? If you would like some merch, that is etsy.com/shop/ where the weird ones are. What else do I gotta say? Yeah. So if you do end up enjoying this show, please like, follow, share, subscribe, do all that shit. The best way to support the show is to share and like and interact with each episode. The second best way is to buy my shit. Although you don't have to, and I don't expect you to. I'm just saying. Um, yeah, and I will be at CryptidCon in Kentucky in November. So if you guys are interested in meeting up, just you- I'll see you there. I'll most likely be wearing my shirt that says "Where the Weird Ones Are." I feel like I'm pretty easy to to pin pick out of a crowd. So um, that's not very good for assassination purposes. So yeah. Anyways, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys do too. Again, show her some love as much as you can. She's doing amazing shit. And that's Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. So if you're interested, follow her on Instagram, Facebook. She has her own radio show, so check that out too if you're interested. A couple of podcast shout outs: Cryptid Warfare, Three Siblings Walk Into a Bar, Weirdsdale Podcast, Hot Garbage, and Mrs. Spooky. Mrs. Spooky Obsessed is doing amazing shit. I love this new season that she's coming out with for the spooky months. So anyway, that was a good shake, Rizzo. If you heard that, anyway, Rizzo's in the studio. Eventually, I'm gonna get like a couch so that Rizzo can be a part of the episodes. I think that'd be pretty fucking cool. Or just like a longer chair or something. And behind this camera will probably be a chair for like friends and stuff that want to pop on or people that are in the area. Yeah, so I think that's all. I think that's all I gotta say. All right, guys. You know what the deal is. Um, question everything and stay weird, my friends. Bye.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird, get weird.
www.deeperdown.store. That's where you want to go if you want a hoodie like this. I don't know if you can see it that well. Hold on, I'll show you. If you're just listening to the audio, it's down the rabbit hole. So, if you're watching the video, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is my hoodie. I got it from David, who is __ down the dot rabbit hole __. He has a merch store, so go please fucking check that out. He's got a whole bunch of cool shit, cool designs. So if you need a hoodie, you need any kind of threads, please go check it out. He's a good friend of the show, and he's co-hosting over at One Nothing podcast for a couple episodes, so go check those episodes out. And please show him some love and some support. He's got a lot of cool shit in his store, so go check that shit out. Also, if you do decide that you want something from his shop, you can use my code Kevin's Weird 18. You get 18% off of your purchase. So however much shit that you want to get, the better it is for you to get more than just one thing with the coupon. So please go show him some love, show him some support. He's doing amazing shit. If you're not following him on Instagram, you probably should. So do that. All right, everybody. That's www.deeperdown.store.
I'm ready.
All right. So I'm going to just ask you to introduce yourself to the two people that listen to my show. A little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
Well, awesome. I am Jessica Jones, also known as the Cryptid Huntress. I am a Bigfoot field researcher. Well, I started off as a Bigfoot field researcher, and I am actually a show host over at Spaced Out Radio now. And that's kind of, and I have I have my own channel, the Cryptid Huntress, where I do shows every week, live shows, stuff like that. But that's because I am a Bigfoot field researcher, and I do paranormal field research and investigations, and I've been doing that since 2011. Um,
Wow,
yeah,
that's a long time.
yeah, it's a long time. I didn't go public for a long time
Mhm.
with my research. I waited 10 years, and I never meant to go public actually
Oh
with the
no,
research.
it was an
No,
accident.
I kinda. Well, it wasn't. Nothing's an accident.
Well,
Apparently, this
true.
is kind of my mission here. Like I'm supposed to talk about this. So I kind of got into speaking publicly by accident. I went to meet up with one of my best friends. She was volunteering at Camp Disclosure in Georgia. I live in Georgia,
Yep.
and I just went to go hang out and have fun. And I guess somebody and one of the guys that was volunteering was talking to me about my Bigfoot research. He had heard that I was a Bigfoot researcher, and I started describing to just some of the things that we had done with my team and the places, and not giving the locations away. But he said, "Man, that sounds a lot like the Skinwalker Ranch of the South." And I was like, "Oh, have you read the book?" Because the head of my team had written a book,
Yeah.
and over when we were all doing the lockdown thing a couple of years ago, and he said, "Yeah, I read the book. I saw him, Trey Hudson on Coast to Coast." I was like, "Well, do you remember a girl named Jessica J in that book?" He was like, "Yeah." And, oh my God, that's you. And so the person that was throwing that conference approached me immediately and was like, "Oh my gosh, would you please speak at my conference?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know." Like, I mean, I really didn't mean to go public with this
Uh,
stuff, and it just kind of happened. And I did it kind of as a favor, but I was kind of excited at the same time to
right.
kind of go public. I had gotten the green light because the head of the team had written a book, so I was able to talk about some of that stuff now.
Nice.
So that's how it all started right there.
And
Yeah.
therefore, the path was laid in front of you.
Everything fell into place.
Yeah.
Yes. The
Yeah.
the first podcast I went on after that conference was Apollo Astria's show on KGRA digital broadcasting, and the producer came on right after the show and was like, "Oh my gosh, would you be willing to do a show here at the network?" And I
And
was like,
that's
"Okay, I don't know, I guess." Okay. And that's how I started the rolling. The ball dropped and it
no,
started rolling really hard.
nice. And you seem really busy. So one of the questions that I was really looking forward to asking you was, what was it like camping out with Drew and Zook at Farah's cabin?
Oh, it was horrible. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding. It was so fun. You can imagine. Those guys are hilarious.
Yeah, I love
And
them.
so cool. And Farah is amazing. She and her husband and all their chickens and Gypsy, their little bird and all that. We had a really good time. And it was it was exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
The whole crew that was there, all of their friends, all the guys that showed up, it was literally a real it was an operation, and that's something that I'm used to doing with my teams out in the field. I mean, I'm straight up a boots on the ground field researcher, and that's what I do. And we spend days, weeks at a time out in the field, deep in the woods in the mountains. And so when I got the opportunity to go up to Tennessee, up to Ferris property, with Zook and Drewski and their team, I took it. I jumped on it. I was like, heck yeah, I'll be there. Count the Cryptid Huntress in. Um,
Nice.
there's everything from reported Bigfoot to Dogman to skinwalkers in the
Mhm.
cave, and so I had to be there for that. I had never hunted a skinwalker before, so we took it very seriously. It was you kind of have to
Right,
when you're
right,
out doing this research. So
right.
it was an adventure. Let's just put it that way. It was an adventure.
I bet. I bet. Farah actually invited me to come and join you guys, but there was no way that I was going to be able to. I
Oh,
only get a certain
dang.
amount of time to take off from work, and if I don't, then
Oh
I
man.
won't have the money to cover myself.
Oh, right. I know. I understand that. It's not cheap doing field investigations and field work, because you got to take time off work. You got to have the equipment. You got to, for me, I got to find a babysitter, and somebody to take care of my dog.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. It's not super easy just to pack up and get out, whenever you want to.
Exactly. I actually went to Squonkapalooza in Pennsylvania, and I only had to take one day off for that. But that was pretty interesting. There was a lot of interesting people down there. I met Heather Moser and Ron Murphy and the Cryptid of the Corn guys. And
Oh my God, I love all of them. Now, I know Ron personally, and I've done a couple of shows with Mr. E with Cryptids of the Corn. He is amazing. No, I did a show with Jay too. So with them, I was on their show, and then they came on. Mr. E came on my show a couple times.
Yeah,
We
they're
talked
super
about some weird
intelligent.
stuff.
Yeah,
so intelligent. Yeah,
and he speaks so fluidly, like cleanly too. Like he can just talk for like forever without even saying So, and I have a hard time with that, but it is what it is. We're not all the same, and that's the whole point of it. So
Right. Well, Mr. E is a wildlife biologist, and
exactly.
and I can really appreciate that, being a field investigator and a researcher. We actually have a wildlife biologist on my team. We, in addition to all the other scientists and military guys and medics and whatever else we got going on out there, it's important to have somebody like that out in the field, because
For sure.
they know the plants, they know the animals, they know the sounds. There's so many things that's just invaluable, man. It's so important. And they take the hair samples and the poop samples, so we don't have to.
I barely like picking up my dog's poop. I don't want to go out picking something else's poop up.
Oh man, I can say I've never picked up Sasquatch poop before, so I've never even found Sasquatch poop. We find bear poop, but
yeah,
that's
I feel like most people find that, but so what really got you on this path of searching for Bigfoot and whatnot?
Oh my gosh. Well, I started off as a kid having paranormal experiences. Okay. And so I was really into like ghost and stuff. We didn't have ghost hunting when I was a kid. But every October, scary shows would come on television, like any show like Unsolved Mysteries, that show. Okay, I'm dating myself. I'm showing everybody how old I am. Like Unsolved Mysteries, or like whatever shows would come on that would talk about historical ghosts, like the ghost of Gettysburg or something. So I looked forward to October every single year when I was a kid and a teenager, because we didn't have that many channels, first of all, on TV. And it was just it was a good time for me, because I really like all the monsters and scary stuff. So I was seeing ghosts when I was a kid and a teenager and a young woman. I was also really interested in UFOs, and I lived out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Now it's like suburban metropolis of Georgia somehow. But back then it was just a farm, and you could see the stars for millions of miles. I mean, it was wild. And I would take my little mat outside that I took naps on at school, and I'd lay it in the grass, and I would watch for UFOs, which was odd because that's just something that my other friends weren't doing, not that I know of. But I was really interested in that kind of stuff. Of course, I when I was a kid, I was always scared of things looking at me through the windows at night. I don't know if I was like having abduction experiences. I hope not. But living out in the country, my mom didn't have good curtains on her windows. And so I highly recommend people have curtains on their windows, okay? Because I know how I felt when I was a kid.
I had the same kind of like feelings too, because at night you can't see out the window very well because the lights are on inside. My grandparents, I lived with my grandparents for a while, and they used to keep their living room shades open, and so I would watch TV, and I always gravitated towards Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon, Nick at Night or whatever. And I'd watch creepy stuff as a kid all the time, year round. It didn't matter what time of year it was, but if it was dark out, I couldn't sit in the most comfiest chair was right next to the window, and I couldn't sit in it and although I wanted to, I couldn't because I was too afraid that something was watching me.
Oh Yeah. I was the
So-
same way. We had lace curtains. I don't recommend lace curtains. Okay.
No, me neither.
I really don't. I'm like, get some shutters and some blinds and some curtains and whatever else. I mean, of course, I lived out in the country up until recently too, and I don't have curtains. I didn't have curtains on most of my windows there, but if my son had like felt uncomfortable, I would have put curtains up, So, but anyways, besides, let's move on from that because I mean, I think that's like a childhood trauma that a lot of us have, is feeling like we were watched when we were kids from something outside.
Yeah. Did you
But,
ever see a UFO when you laid out?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'd see all sorts of weird stuff out in the sky.
Right.
Of course, back then I didn't know for sure what was what,
Mhm.
but shooting stars were UFOs to me, probably. I don't know. I'd see a lot of weird stuff out there though, and yeah. So you fast forward up to, let's just say when I was in my 20s, I guess.
Okay.
I started having a lot of deaths in my friend circle and in my family, and including my brother. Well, that was more like in my 30s, I guess. But people started passing away, like people super duper close to me, and it kind of ignited my interest in the paranormal, where I got interested in speaking with the dead, doing ghost box sessions. It was before we had access to the ITC handheld devices. Um, I used to go and like sign up and pay for sessions with this guy named Christopher Moon, who had a ghost box to the dead, like a big one that he had made, like Thomas Edison's ghost box to the dead or something like that. And he would come to Atlanta like once or twice a year. And after my brother died in a car accident, that was kind of the last straw. I was like, well, I want to talk to my brother. I need to make sure he's okay. And he had actually come back and visited me the week that he died. And he manifested right beside my bed one night. And,
Wow.
and so I was able to, like, he leaned over and gave me a kiss on my forehead. And, around that time, like, I'd had two people standing, one was sitting by my bed, one was standing behind her, and they were like talking to me, like using telepathy. Their mouths weren't moving, and they were as solid as we are right now. And they kept telling me, they're like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I couldn't figure out what they were thanking me for. I was in a lot of grief losing my brother, and apparently it was because I had finally agreed to like let them take my brother's organs or something. Like, it was something weird like that. I mean, not it's not weird, but it was something that was like super, something that it was hard for me to deal with.
Mhm.
And it was almost like they came back to thank me for, like, it was like ancestors potentially of like the people who's got his organs, I guess, or something. I'm not sure. That's what a psychic told me. So, but yeah, I started having things like that happen more often. I mean, it was like my whole energy field just got blasted wide open, and I started almost being like a channel, I guess, for the other side or something. It just kind of all happened. I think it was like the trauma of losing a lot of people. I think it was I don't know what it was, but something switched when all that started happening, and I started seeing more ghosts. Um, so I started naturally wanting to go do ghost hunting, and I'd do these ghost box sessions, and I'd voices would come through that claimed to be like my brother and all of my ancestors and my spirit guides, and they just were giving me all these very interesting messages, very loving and comforting kind of stuff. But I was a little bit above this curve, right? Like, I didn't want to know, are you okay? Are y'all okay on their side? I wanted to know, what happened to you when you died? Who was there? Where are you now? Like, I had a list of questions when I went into those ghost box sessions, and they were like so beyond like what that guy was expecting, I think. Because I was literally asking, like, well, where's my spirit guide, and what were my past lives, and what is in my future, and what is it? I was asking. I was like, I'm gonna get my money's worth with this, okay? This ghost box session. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that, but yeah, it was. I did. I got a lot of answers that I wasn't expecting too, especially regarding past life information and spirit attachments. I mean, like, voices were coming through saying, well, or this one voice came through saying, well, I'm your spirit guide, and you have attachments. Like, there's two spirits attached to you. And then like a voice would come through. It was like, I'm so and so, and I died in the Civil War. And the guy, and he was telling me like how he why he attached to me, and like things that he does that I recognize as being true.
Wow.
And like a little girl was attached to me and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I started learning about spirituality, and I learned about cleansing my aura and protecting my energy and getting these attachments off of me and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of learning on my own, like how to do all this stuff and the power of, us being humans, what it means to be a human and things. I was really getting philosophical with all this. Okay. And one day my mom, oh, by the way, I was also going to like these psychic fairs and getting my tarot cards read and all that kind of stuff. And
Naturally.
I was in it to win it. I was wearing my crystals and so my mom one day was like, hey, Jess, I'm going to this meeting, and there's some guys there who are Bigfoot field researchers. And I think that you would really be interested. It'd be something you'd like to do. So I joined her at this meeting one night at her friend's house. And these guys, I mean, I had no intention of being a Bigfoot field researcher at all, Kevin. It was never in my agenda. Okay. I never even considered that ever. And I had never had a Bigfoot sighting. I'd seen ghosts, and I figured, well, ghosts are real. Why would Bigfoot not be real?
Right.
So I went to this meeting. These guys knew their stuff. They were straight up real field researchers with evidence. They had castings of footprints. They had stories about all their experiences, and they had a different approach to their research. They were really into like the mind, body, spirit aspect of the Sasquatch out there in the North Georgia mountains. And they were, I was just super impressed with everything they showed us.
Yeah.
And so I had questions at the end, and I was like, well, where's the Sasquatch poop and the bodies? If these things are real, why has nobody ever found a body of one? I'm a country girl, and I honestly, I felt like I would have come across a dead Sasquatch out in the woods at some point, but
I asked somebody that one time, and they were like, they speculated that like the Native American mounds are the burial grounds are where the Sasquatch bury their dead.
Wow.
That was a speculation that I've heard.
It could be. Well, so I just visited the Etowah Indian mounds here in Georgia recently.
Okay.
And I met up with a group of women who are friends of mine now. We just met in person that day, actually, but we went to the Etowah Indian mounds. These ladies are from all over the country and in Canada. Okay. And it was just a place that's very powerful. And the ladies are doing grid work, and they like to clear land and do healing ceremonies and stuff. So my son and I met them out there. The day that I got back from Tennessee, at that investigation I was at with Zook and Drewski and Farah, it was the next day. I'm a busy woman, okay?
Wow, I'd say it's so.
Totally. So I met them out there, and the first thing that I felt and I heard intuitively was giants. Okay, as soon as I stepped foot out of my car, the mounds are huge. I was not expecting them to be that big, and I heard giants right when I got out of the car. So that's a possibility, but also dogmen are known to be seen at Indian burial mounds as well.
Really? I don't think I heard.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Totally.
So
that's the thing.
Is that like the majority of sightings is around burial grounds?
I don't know about the majority. I don't think it's the majority, but there are a lot of sightings, and there are stories of dogmen being seen digging into Indian burial mounds.
No shit.
Yes, absolutely. There's a video. I think it's out of Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. There's a dogman digging in a cemetery in like a fresh plot. Some people say, no, that's not a dog man. Maybe it's a juvenile Sasquatch. I think that's a dog man. I'm sorry. I just saw somebody posted it on Instagram yesterday, I think. But I've been seeing that video for a long time. There's two women that drive into a cemetery on their lunch break, I believe, is the backstory. And they've got their camera phone out. One of them does. And they look over. There's something like knelt down on the ground, and it's just digging frantically into the ground in front of the mausoleum and like where the graves are. And it's just digging, and dirt's flying up all around it. I mean, what human in their right mind would do something like that at a graveyard, like a cemetery, a modern day cemetery? It didn't make sense. And they got close enough to it, and she zoomed in her camera, and it looked like a dog man.
Elongated snout and everything.
I couldn't see its snout, but you look, it had ears sticking up on the top of its head, and it looked black.
God. Oh my God.
I'll try to find that video.
I'm gonna have to try and find it. Yeah, because I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's all it makes its way around the web. I think I showed that video when I did a show with I believe it was Jody Cook with the North American Dogman Project. I
Okay.
showed at least some pictures of it. Yeah, so
I
it's worth
think
looking into.
yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because I think I think I encountered a dog man back in 2016. So like because I didn't know at the time I didn't know what it was. I didn't really know like cryptids very well. All I knew was Bigfoot.
Oh
And
yeah.
then just it was red eyes and it was tall. That's all I knew.
Ooh.
And I think it was so like there was along a rock wall and it was a big boulder and the boulder I know that because I lived out in the middle of the woods and the boulder I know it was about my height, maybe a couple inches taller, and I'm 5'10", so the rock itself was probably at least 6 feet tall, and then the eyes were behind it but taller than the rock.
Dang.
So
Okay.
it was
Yeah, that's pretty tall.
it was interesting, and I was overcome with dread, like
With
so bad.
dread.
Yeah, like I became so terrified, and there was a pack of coyotes with it.
Oh, that's interesting. Very
Uh-huh.
interesting. Okay, because Sasquatch and Dogman have been seen with like packs of dogs or coyotes or whatever. So it
Yeah,
could have been either, but you got the feeling it could have been Dogman.
yeah, just because of it seemed closer to 6 feet rather than
Mhm.
8.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the Bigfoots that we encounter are not gigantic, humongous Bigfoots down here in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
They're anywhere from. I mean, some of them could be like 6 feet, and they could be juveniles, but yeah, they're not like those hulking 12-footers, and stuff.
Yeah,
They're like
that's
10-footers, but they not to say they're not out there, but they're not down. The ones that we have usually around here are not as tall that tall. They're like 7, 8 feet max,
okay.
something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's like skunk ape stuff going on down here.
Yeah,
Um,
with the because
they're all a little different.
yeah, I heard some stories of skunk ape out of Florida, the Everglades and stuff like that. So,
Mhm. Yeah, we have them here too. We have
mhm.
swamps in South Georgia, like the Okefenokee. So we have swampland too, but it's swamp. I guess we say skunk ape, but they're
Yeah.
down in the swamps. But there is the same kind of style of them. I say style, like they got a style. They're so stylish.
The
But it's
fur's a
like the
little
longer
different,
hair,
isn't
kind
it?
of.
Oh, is
It
it?
is,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
a little stringier, I guess you could say, and a little bit longer, and they're lanky, kind of. They're not like the Northwest, like the Pacific Northwest Bigfoots,
Uh-huh.
or like patty types that have more like a pelt of fur on them.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. A little bit
Uh,
different.
have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
I have not. I have never. Okay, I got set it straight. I have never seen one up close.
Okay.
Never. I have experienced them up close. I have. They've been in around our camps. They've been in the woods. They've screamed at us. They've screamed at me. They've laughed and tried to act like animals, and like making animal
Wow.
noises that ended in like a hysterical laugh because they knew that they were not really sounding like that animal. I mean, it's wild. But I have never had an up close encounter with one where I could see its face.
Okay.
But I've seen them from a distance many times, and especially things like darting in and out of the trees, and their shadowy movements, running across the field and stuff like that. So, but no, I'll get my up close view one day. One day it's
Yeah.
coming.
Did,
Yeah.
so do they you would you say they travel in packs, or would if you ever were to see one, do you think they would be alone?
It depends because they kind of stick with their families, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but usually when they're coming around us, like in our camps and stuff, or out in the field, there's most definitely more than one, and you can hear them. And a lot of times, especially late at night after everybody's snoring, that's the telltale sign that it's safe to come into camp. Right when we're out, we have our base camp out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. You'll hear them start whooping, and there'll be one whoop over here, and then there'll be another whoop way over here, and another whoop way back there. And so they're triangulating,
Oh, okay.
or they're whistling. They whistle, they whoop, and yeah, and we're always told, like, don't try not to like shoot one or hurt one, because if something happens to one, they're all going to come at you. Okay, so like that's one of the rules out there. Like, don't do anything you don't have to do. Okay,
Good point.
to hurt one. Yeah, because they're hidden. Like you're never going to see all of them, but you can guarantee there's going to be more than one if there's one.
Okay. So, another question I wanted to ask was, so I've been hearing a lot of stories of when they see a dog man, a lot of times there's a Sasquatch nearby. And it has been speculated that maybe Dogman is just Sasquatch's dog. But I don't know. So I hear a lot of stories of just a dog man, and I hear a lot of stories of just Bigfoot, but then there's also stories of Bigfoot and dog man. So I don't know if you have any kind of insight on that.
Yeah, well, I have all sorts of things I could tell you.
Hey, you having a hard time, or maybe you're having a good time, and you just need a psychic reading, or maybe you need something for graphic design, like you're starting a business, you're starting a podcast of some kind. Well, I implore you to visit www.thefineartmedium.com. There you'll find her portfolio, her blog, her readings, viewer interactions, and all that. She has her bachelor degree in sociology of social deviance, which she says is pretty much like criminology, just without the law. She received that degree from the University of Pennsylvania in 2015. First of all, I just want to say she is phenomenal. She's a good person, and I implore you to go check her out. For reading, you need something graphic design. She's the one that's working on my comic book, so please go check her out. And if you need anything, please use her. Go through her. She's very easy to reach. You can find her on Instagram at The Fine Art Medium. Her name is Emily Leto. So please check her out if you need any of those such things. So, with that being said, have a good day. Yo, you like crystals? Do you like healing crystals? Do you like candles? Are you into energy healing and cleansing your mind, body, and soul? Bro, head on over to etsy.com/shop/heal with Christina. You won't be disappointed. I promise you. She's got amazing handcrafted crystals, custom made, some of them. So you should definitely check her out. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing friend. All she wants to do is help people. She wants to heal people. And she's just here, just shining her light. And it's fucking bright. It's a bright ass light. So, again, if you're into healing crystals and whatnot, you're spiritual, you got to go check her store out. Again, that's etsy.com/shop/heal with Christina. Upon checkout, enter the coupon code WEIRD125. You get 25% off. So please show her some love and check her out. She goes by Heal with Christina on Instagram, so you can connect with her there too. So yeah, check it out.
Things I could tell you. I've never encountered a dogman, but we do have dogman reports and werewolf reports in the county where I live, and they go back about 20 years, I believe. And
Wow.
People have for years called into the sheriff's department, like the 911 center, saying that they saw a werewolf on the side of the road. And it's all at the same spot. It's in the north part of the county, and it's near a pretty well-known waterfall in the area, and very magical place. I had not even been up there. I have some family that lives on the road where this thing sighted. They didn't even know about it. Okay, but lucky for me, I know people at the sheriff's department. And they always keep me posted on stuff like that. But so those ladies, let's rewind a little bit, because those ladies that
right.
I met at the Etowah Indian Mounds.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, well, you know, y'all, you said there's dogman reports right up here. They're like, let's go check that out. Let's go to that area, that waterfall. So we all followed each other over there. They hopped in their car, I got in mine, and we all went over there to see where the dogman sightings have been, because it's interesting. Like the Indian, and it's near the Indian mounds. I mean, it's not 10 minutes from those Indian mounds.
Wow.
So, and you got to think like dogmen, Sasquatch, they cover a lot of ground. These are like big animals. They can move quickly, and they, especially the dogmen, sometimes I hear they move in packs and stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, yeah. So let me get back. What was I saying? Okay. So I'd
So-
never encountered a dogman. Not to say we don't go and research in areas where there are dogmen. I have just never seen one before.
Okay.
The head of one of my teams, the North Georgia cryptid researcher, his name's, we call him Grumpy. And Grumpy, you might know Grumpy. He's been on shows like Killing Bigfoot and Bigfoot is Real, and shows like that. So he's awesome. Grumpy used to be the head or the director of the Region 5 of the North American Dogman Project. So most of the stuff that I learned about Dogman originally was from Bob Grumpy. So I'd been hearing about him for a while, and we have an area in Middle Georgia that we researched that is known for dogman sightings. So that's the place where I don't take my kid out there at all.
I don't blame you.
I don't take my kid to any of my research areas unless it's, you know, during the day. We're not going to be doing serious research while we're out there.
I don't blame you.
Because it's just not safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's too many missing people out in this country at these national parks, and
yeah, way too much. Have
way
you
too
ever
many.
done any research on the missing people at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, okay. So another thing that I do, I am trained extensively in remote viewing. And,
Oh, okay.
And so everybody on my team is trained in remote viewing. So that started, well, I guess I can kind of rewind with that a little bit and tell you how that happened too. So the head of my original team, one of the guys that was at that presentation I went to,
Yeah.
those guys, they're former military guys, and or current, I guess. And they invited me out to an expedition and that night, and I was like, shoot, yeah, I'll go. I want to know Bigfoot's real. And so about, I guess it was about a month later, I guess, like I was like, put me on the list. And so they started emailing me, and they sent me a list of all the stuff I needed for like camping and all my gear and whatever. And I went out there. I was like, well, if I'm going to find out if Bigfoot is real, what better way to find out than going in the woods with like a bunch of strange men, right? So I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm there. Sign me up.
Sounds like a plot for a bad movie.
Totally. And it could have been. Absolutely. Could have, because it did kind of start going south a little bit, but it was all fun for me. I was having a good time. But yeah, I went out, I think it was around October of 2011.
Okay.
We went up to the North Georgia mountains. I met them up there. I had my tent and my boots and all my stuff I needed for camping out. And I guess they had like invited a bunch of people to go out there for a group excursion that was not just their team, to kind of fill people out to see if they wanted to bring more people onto their team. And I didn't know that. I was just out there to go see if Bigfoot was real. And so I was like, okay, all right, put me in the most like crazy predicament. Okay, like I'll be bait, I'll be whatever. I just want to see if Bigfoot's real.
Whoa.
Like I'm here, just put me out there, you know, to be Sasquatch bait. And so they're like, all right, cool, we'll do that. And that's what I did. And the first night I was out there, we broke off, like the big team broke off into smaller teams, and everybody went to a different location in this area. And this is deep, deep in the woods, in the mountains of North Georgia. And I went with a group of, two of the guys in the group were the original team members of this team. And then they had several friends that were with them from other states and stuff, and me. And we went to this place that was an open field. And one of the guys was like, all right, Jessica, well, if you want, or like, we're going to sit down at the bottom of the hill, and you walk by yourself up the hill to that tree line up there. And we're going to watch you with our thermals and our FLIR. And I was like, all right, cool. How bad can this be? You know, I'm going to walk by myself up this field. It was about 100 yards, let's just say, like a football field away, or maybe not quite that far, but it was almost that far up to that tree line. Yeah. And I knew they had been having Bigfoot activity in that area. And so, and I also knew like if something happened to me, they would be able to see it through their imaging devices, and they could like tell my mom how I died, or like where I went.
That's awfully
So
morbid.
I had, well, I had, I, you know, I was living carefree at the time, and I'd been
Yeah.
through a lot, and I was just there to have fun and to really just go all out. I was like,
Mhm.
I just want to do this. Let's do it. And I didn't want to die. My goodness, I
Right,
had no
right.
plan on
No.
that. It was a joke, but yeah.
Right.
So I started. I got my little backpack and I took a deep breath and I was like, all right, let's do this. It was pitch black out there. Um, I started walking and I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous. I was like pretty nervous.
I bet.
Um,
Were you able to see, or did you have a light, or was it dark?
no,
I
I didn't.
didn't even
I
ask if it was dark.
It was completely dark. It was
Oh, okay.
pitch black dark outside. I had a headlamp and a flashlight, but I chose not to turn them on.
Okay.
Okay.
And they were
I
looking at you through the
Yes, their night vision.
yeah, okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were watching me, and I knew I was going to be safe, and if anything ran at me, they'd probably shoot it before it got to me. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I was going to be okay. I thought I was going to be okay. So
Oh boy.
so I started walking, and I got about halfway up the field, and I was getting more nervous with every step because I knew once I got to that tree line, I didn't know what was going to be in that tree line, right?
Right.
In the open field, at least they could see me a little better, you know. And so I was walking, and halfway up the field, I started hearing one of these guys like running right at me, like trucking it, and I could hear it, and I could like feel the energy of it, and I was thinking like, golly, that is so not professional, man. Like, what are these guys thinking? Like, they shouldn't
Mhm.
do this to me. I don't know them, and I'm new, and I'm already a little scared. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared. And and I played sports in college. I played rugby for my college. Like, I know like what it feels like when it sounds like to have somebody run up behind you and tackle you. Okay, and I grew up with a brother and sister. We were always fighting. So but I heard this guy, like it was a man. It was like the size of a man. It was running up behind me, and I kind of braced for impact. And whoever it was ran up behind me, and they swept my legs out from underneath me, and they kept running.
No way.
Yeah. And I felt it, and I heard it. I felt it. There was a gush of wind. Something hit the back of my legs and kept going. And I looked over, like expecting to see somebody, and there was nobody there. Nothing. Not a person, not an animal, not a log, not a stick, not nothing. There was nothing out there.
Oh my God. And then they saw the whole thing, obviously, because they were watching you.
They only saw me flailing around and jumping. Like, I kind of lost my balance a little bit, but I didn't fall down because it wasn't like light. I mean, it was like a
Uh-huh.
sweep, you know. And so the distress call, if something were to happen, because I didn't have a radio back then or anything. I was going to throw my arms up in the air and be like, help, you know, if something happened. But I was like I was trying to not throw my arms up, but I wasn't thinking because it was so shocking when that happened. I guess like my hands kind of halfway went up a little bit when I lost my balance. And so I'm sitting around looking for like a stump or a log or something that could have tripped me up,
Uh-huh.
because my rational brain is like, all right, what happened? Like, what was that? Like, it had to have been a tree stump or something on the ground.
Mhm.
Um, because I was having a hard time processing what just happened. Okay. And I looked behind me and I saw there was like no guy. The guys seemed to still be down at the bottom of the hill, but I couldn't see that good. And so I was like, okay, well, that was weird. And I just decided to keep going forward. So I just started walking again. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go up to that tree line. I don't know what the hell that was, but that was weird. So I'm going to just keep going because I didn't want to look like a big baby. Okay.
Nobody wants to look like a big baby.
No, because I was like, my mind has to be playing tricks on me or something. This is just
Right.
too weird. And so I kept walking, and I got almost to the tree line, and I heard somebody, another person walking up behind me, but this time it was a real human. And I was like, who are you? Are you a human? You know, like I actually yelled that out. Are
That's hilarious. I
you a
probably would
human?
have yelled
Are
the
you
same
real?
thing.
It was, yeah. And it was actually Craig, one of the guys who's one of the original team members, and a search and rescue guy, a cave specialist, uh, just a all around survivalist, awesome dude, love him to
Wow.
death, and a Kijong master. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Damn.
And yeah, he's a super country boy, man. I love old Craig. But he walked up to me and was like, Jessica, are you okay? Like, we saw you kind of throw your arms up in the air, but I wasn't sure if you were in distress or not. And I told him what happened. And he was like, well, let's go back and look. It's got to be something. It's got to be something because we didn't see anything run at you.
Mm.
And so we walked back down to where it happened. I knew the exact spot. I never forget it. And we looked and there was nothing there. So we walked back up to the tree line, and all the while he was telling me about, well, it could potentially, he wasn't saying it was this, but he said potentially, Bigfoot's cloak. And sometimes the juveniles will mess with you. And he has a lot of experience with Bigfoots, and he'd been doing it for a long time.
Uh-huh.
And he said, what if, we started talking like, well, what if, that could have been like a juvenile Bigfoot or some kind of Bigfoot cloaking, or let's just take Bigfoot out of the equation. It could have been an entity of some sort. It could have been anything running at me like a ghost or something. I mean, I've been physically touched by ghosts before and I felt it. So it literally could have been anything, but it was definitely something.
Oh
And
my God.
as we're standing there talking, he and I had an urge to walk over to the right side, the right corner of that tree line. And as I did that, I didn't know why I was being pulled over to that direction. And as I got over there, one of the guys that was watching me with his thermal imaging camera, he said that a Bigfoot stuck its head around the tree and was staring at me the whole time I was standing there.
No
And
shit.
he saw it. Absolutely. And I knew there was, I felt, I didn't know, but I felt like there was something there.
Uh-huh.
Craig and I are still talking back and forth, and we decide, all right, let's go back down to base camp. Let's go to these guys. Let's get out of here. That was, all that weird stuff happened. And so the next night or the next day, we decided to go back to that field the next night. And one of the guys, one of the other teammates, and I decided we were going to go out there and do like a black ops project kind of thing. We're going to go out there and hide in the environment pretty much all day and blend in with the environment, become a tree basically, and hope that we'd sit there. The Bigfoots would not know we were there. The team was going to come out to that open field. The whole team was going to come out and make a bunch of noise around 9 o'clock that night. And while they're out there acting like crazy humans in the field, we were hoping a Bigfoot would walk down that game trail that was beside where we were sitting and step on us, looking at our team.
Uh-huh.
Okay, like fair enough, right? Sounds like a good plan. So we went out there around 3 PM, and he and I sat. He had a ghillie suit. Okay, I had my camo. Like we were like in it to win it that day, and we were going to see a Bigfoot. Dang it! But we were out there, and it was a long day. It was a very long day. And around the time it started to get dark, we were checking our equipment. I had a voice recorder. I had taken my ghost hunting equipment out there because we use kind of the same kind of equipment when we were Bigfooting and doing all this different types of paranormal stuff. These guys were not just into a primate in the woods, by the way. They were into Bigfoot potentially being interdimensional, using portals, all that kind of stuff. They knew before I even went out there, they knew there was a connection to like UFOs and Bigfoot and stuff. And not all Bigfoot groups feel that way. They don't agree with that. They don't like talking about UFOs and portals and other elementals that are out there. It's all a big old primate in the woods or nothing. Okay. And this team is not like that, which really set them apart.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to be. The possibilities are endless. I feel like
you just keep an open mind is all I ask for and all they ask for. It's just to keep an open mind and don't label things. Okay. Like don't like that thing that ran up behind me. I can't ever say that was 100% a Bigfoot cloaked. It could have been like a ghost or something. It could have been a trickster spirit.
Right.
It could have been anything.
Because there's energy everywhere. So.
Yeah, it was definitely an energy though. So speaking of energy, so we're sitting out there. We're both sitting. We both have our backs to the same tree basically, and it's starting to get dark. And we were checking our equipment, like our recording devices and our K2 meters and REM pods, whatever we had out there. I don't even remember what all we had. We were trying to keep it quiet, so I don't think we had a REM pod, because we wanted the Bigfoot not to see us. Okay.
Right.
But I had my EVP recording device on my knee. I remember that, and we were looking at our equipment, and my time on my digital equipment had changed. It had gone forward an hour, and his had gone backwards an hour, and it had been on time before this.
Huh.
Or it could have been vice versa. It was one or the other. Like, but ours each went forward or backwards an hour. Okay, so that was the first thing that was weird. And then we started noticing as it was getting dark, there were lights in the sky, way up in the sky, that were moving in triangular patterns. Was not a normal airplane.
No.
Then a light started shining, like a big orb. It looked like what we thought were headlights on the side of the mountain beside us, that was moving in a perfectly horizontal line back and forth across the mountain. And it was super, super bright. And we were thinking, with our rational brains, again, that has to be a car on the side, going down a trail, and it's just going back and forth. And then we were thinking, well, there's no trail over there that's straight. And then we were thinking, well, maybe it's hikers and they have a lantern in their hand. But then we were thinking, well, but the light's on top of the trees. It's not in the trees. And so, but we try to check everything off the list and try to figure out what it potentially could be before we go straight to UFO. Okay.
Right.
So that was a little odd too. And at some point it got dark. I remember feeling really tired, but I don't remember ever falling asleep or anything like that. Okay. Fast forward to 9 p.m. that night. The group came out, and my partner and I, we were sitting there trying to be still and trying to be quiet. And we were very alert and watching for, a Bigfoot to creep up on us. And the group was being loud, and they noticed that there were red lights in the tree line, and they thought it was he and I.
Uh-huh.
But in reality, those red lights were 10 feet from where we were sitting, and they weren't us. Okay, so just red lights, like red lights in the tree line.
All right. How did were they big lights, or were they like eyeball size?
It was almost like orbs kind of, but it was kind of robotic at the same time.
Okay,
they weren't orbs though. Yeah, they were just red shiny lights. Mechanical, let's just say, mechanical looking lights. So they assumed it was him and I, and it was not. And needless to say, no Bigfoots walked up and got on top of us or stepped on us or anything. Other than those lights, there wasn't a whole lot of activity that I knew of or I could remember.
Uh-huh.
And around midnight, we ended up going back to base camp with the crew. And everybody kept saying, Jessica's acting weird. And I was like, well, y'all don't even know me. How do y'all know I'm acting weird? I'm just tired, and I'm hungry and I'm tired, basically. Yeah. But they were like, no, there's something off. They're like, did something happen to you guys? Like we came to the conclusion that like those red lights were not us. And something potentially could have happened to us out there, because there was just something that was very off about what happened.
Yeah, kind of like coincides with abduction. I mean, his watch is an hour behind or ahead, and yours is the opposite. And it's almost like you guys got put back at different times. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I had that EVP recorder on my knee the entire night.
Okay.
And I knew that I had that. We had kind of decided that something more had happened to us out there, but we just didn't know exactly what it was. And I had that recording device. We all kind of went home after that week, and I went home and I had that recording, but I was scared to listen to it. Something was preventing me from listening to it. So the head of that team, by the way, they asked me to join their team at the end of that weekend. I guess they liked my style. I was just kind of putting myself out there. And so he offered to meet me and listen to that recording with me together. And we listened to that recording, and I knew there was going to be something that was probably going to upset me on there, because the way he was acting was like, oh, if you ever, what was he saying? He was like, yeah, you and him may have hybrid ET babies. They were joking around. And I was like, that's not funny. Okay. I went out there to like be a Bigfoot field, do Bigfoot field research, not to be accosted by aliens, and we were listening to that recording device. And around the time that that light showed up on the side of the mountain, and we were trying to figure out what it was, suddenly we got very quiet and we quit talking. And it sounded like bottle rockets were shooting off all around us.
Whoa.
Yet we did not hear that with our own ears.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were loud too, very loud. And we were very quiet. We didn't say anything the whole time that was happening.
Huh.
So either we were just like put in a trance, or we got put to sleep, or there's something that happened, or maybe we just didn't hear it.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to do regression to figure it out, or do you not want to know?
Oh, well, okay. Well, here's where it gets super interesting.
Oh.
So the head of my team and the guy who was with me, they are trained in remote viewing. Okay, extensively.
Okay.
And it's like the Ingo Swan methods of like remote viewing and the coordinate remote viewing like the military uses. Okay. And so they immediately kind of looked into it a little bit and saw that something more happened to he and I out there. And the head of the team, we had a meeting, and he said, okay, something more happened to them out there. I suggest that all of you start reading up on alien abductions and get books like Communion, The Threat, Among Us, okay, or Amongst Us. I don't know what that is, but just a whole bunch of books. And once you start going down that rabbit hole on Amazon, let me tell you, you buy one of those books, I ended up with the whole library on alien abduction books, and I read every one of them, and it was not helping my situation whatsoever. Because, like I said, I went out there to look for Bigfoot, and I got accosted by ETs, basically, in a spaceship. Okay. So also, what the head of the team suggested was, okay, well, in order to look into this stuff a little bit more and further, I would like to teach everyone on here remote viewing, if you guys are game. And he's like, it's going to take a while, and it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to require a lot of every one of us. And if you're down for it, we'll do it. But you got to decide. And the whole team was like, yeah, we'll do it. So we spent years learning remote viewing after that. Like I'm talking about years. Okay. Nice. And so, yeah, to this day, I kind of went rogue and started doing shows on remote viewing and stuff because I love it so much. But we utilize remote viewing out in the field when things happen to us that we don't like. If we have missing time, we can remote view it and find out what happened.
Well, that's a handy tool to have, I think.
Very, absolutely. Okay, so when I started reading up on remote viewing, I started waking up at night and I had aliens in my bedroom.
What? No way. So
yes,
you're like trying to remote view. So you're looking into remote viewing, and then you're remote viewing yourself, and you're being visited.
I was not remote viewing myself. No,
okay.
not yet. Not yet.
All right. All right.
Because it took me a while to learn remote viewing, and
but while you were learning, they were like,
"This
hey,
is
man,
while I was learning.
Cut the shit."
This is before I was learning. I think.
Oh my god.
No. I had been learning actually already because I started learning when I was pregnant with my son. Actually, is when I first started doing remote viewing. I think, or right, but it was actually before that. It was before that. But yeah.
Did you start seeing them before you were pregnant?
No.
Okay.
No, not before I was pregnant. All yeah. Right. See, I was actually okay. So this is, I don't think I've ever said this publicly before, but yeah, I was actually afraid to, because I always thought about like, I don't ever want to like be pregnant out in the woods ever. Cause I was afraid that something would like, I mean, cause there's that real threat of like ETs
for sure.
taking things and stuff. So I was like, I don't ever want that. So yeah, I limited my time in the woods when I was pregnant with my son, actually, big time. Yeah, just because I didn't want anything to happen with that. It sounds really weird to people that aren't, used to going out in the woods and getting accosted by ETs and Bigfoots, but it's a real issue. You got to think about stuff like that.
Yeah, not only that, but then you got the real regular threats too.
other
absolutely.
wild animals that we are used to seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, the moose alone, if you don't want to run into a moose while you're pregnant.
No. Well, you can't. You don't want to have to run from something. That's for
Exactly.
sure.
For sure.
Yeah. It's
So
dangerous.
when they started coming to see you in your bedroom, do you remember what they looked like?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One time there were two what we would consider to be grays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the second time it was something that was very tall. It looked like the way it moved and the way its hands looked, it looked like a mantis type, but it had on a cloak with a hood, so I couldn't see its face.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it was about the size of my ceiling. It was really tall, and was kind of moving all weird, and yeah, it was interesting to say the least. But I mean, I wasn't like terrified of these things, but I kept wondering like, why are my dogs not waking up right now?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder like, am I dreaming this or is this real? But at that point, I was learning remote viewing and mind control techniques. And I knew that if it were to happen, to just like tap my finger and like do things that like where I could make sure my body was, I was connected to my body, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
Kind
so
of like,
I was able to do that.
yeah. That's
So it
interesting.
was really happening. Yeah, it was real,
Wow.
very real.
Wow. And you weren't scared, you said.
No, I was already getting inoculated to a lot of this stuff. So when I see things like that, I'm not going to say it doesn't startle me, but it doesn't really scare me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm used
So
to it.
there's one question that since you've seen aliens, have you ever so I have this kind of like memory from when I was a child that I can't remember if it was an actual memory or if it was a dream. Now do you know much about like elementals and whatnot?
I do a little bit. Absolutely. I'm the cryptid huntress. I got to know a little bit. So, yeah,
So
I'm
I
familiar. I mean, I've talked about the little people and gnomes and fairies and all that kind of stuff. I've gotten reports of those
uh,
all over the world.
wow. So I stumbled on what I think was a village of mushroom people when I was a kid. And
Interesting.
they looked like mushrooms and stuff, and I just didn't know. I was wondering if that was more if you would categorize them as more of like an elemental or like an alien, like extraterrestrial,
Oh, I would.
or would they technically be the same?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm starting to see that I think some of the extraterrestrials, as we call them, are from
Uh,
inner Earth. Okay,
yes,
so
I think
I
the
don't
same
know
thing.
nothing about nothing at this point. I don't know everything I thought I knew. I don't think I know. So I would say they're more of an elemental, but of the Earth, or maybe even from inner Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that some aliens come from inner Earth, what we would consider to be like aliens. So they could be extraterrestrials. Okay, so my buddy Dave Pardue, he's with North Carolina Cryptid or Carolina Cryptid Field Research, I think is the name of his organization. He comes out with my team and we do research together out in the field. He has a really interesting video that he took. He was out there filming, getting captures of some of the Bigfoots out at a place that he researches,
Mm-hmm.
and ET started showing up. Okay, and he's got long videos of like ETs peeking out from behind trees, and you can clearly see them. And at one point, he has a video in the same area. It looks like a group of little people start skipping and like hopping, like in a single file line, basically
Uh-huh.
in the shot, like in the woods.
Wow.
But the way when we discussed it, it was almost like they were extraterrestrials or something. But I think they could have been gnomes. I mean, I don't know. You could just see the outline of their bodies and their heat signatures. Um, but who's to say? I mean, they weren't but like a foot tall, like a foot or 2 to 2 feet, something like that.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, this was in the southeastern United States. This is not
Huh.
like in England or wherever they have like fairies and gnomes. Like they're known for that. Um, so he got the feeling they were extraterrestrials.
Okay. And he is
You said Carolina Cryptid.
Yeah, Dave Pardue. Yeah, he's been
Dave
on my
Pardue.
show.
Okay.
Dave Pardue. Yeah, I think it's Carolina Cryptid Field Research. I think it's his
Okay.
organization.
All right. I'll have
Yeah.
to look into that. So I don't want to keep you too long because you gotta put your son to bed, but I just want to ask you, basically, it's a question I ask everybody towards the end when I'm wrapping up. Are you finding fulfillment in your life with the path that you're walking?
Oh my gosh, totally. I am having the time of my life, like having so much fun, getting to get out in the woods and explore. I mean, I've traveled the country just in the past like 3 months, 3 or 4 months now.
Awesome.
I have literally been back and forth across the country, speaking to groups and doing field research. I just got back from Montauk, New York, where I got to go with a group of friends, of people up there, um, to go experience the USS Eldridge reappearing from the Philadelphia experiment through a 20-year biorhythmic portal that opens up. I was out there. We had a boat full of people out there, and a bunch of us on the shore. In addition to like being at Camp Hero, what they loosely based Stranger Things off of with people who are actually part of the Montauk Project and the stuff, like it's been wild. Okay, in Long Island, New York. Okay, and I was in Illinois, got to hang out doing the Secret Space Program conferences and stuff, and I don't know. It's just been awesome. I've been having a great time. I do feel like I'm on my path. I'm on mission with whatever I'm supposed to be doing here this lifetime, and it all has to deal with Bigfoot. So I couldn't be more excited. I know that I'm on the right path, and I am when I am feeling fulfillment like I do right now. And it is the people. It's the people, and it's being able to share my stories, and to just kind of help raise the consciousness of people on this planet, and raise the vibe. If I can put some good energy out there, it's a good day.
Nice. So earlier you had said that that you learned how to get rid of like spirit attachments. Is that something that you go delve into on your show and whatnot?
Yeah, I don't really cover that much. I mean, it comes up occasionally, but I don't really do the ghost hunting at all.
Okay.
And we do have, like, I have ghost hunting equipment and stuff when we're out there, and we do encounter spirits and trickster spirits and we all sorts of entities. But I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. When you raise your vibrational frequency and you do not engage with lower vibrational energies, you're very less likely to get attachments. Okay, and there's certain things. Being a remote viewer, we have to protect our energy fields pretty much at all times, and so we are taught and trained to protect our energy and basically to have a protective energy bubble around us at all times.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't really talk about a lot of the spirit protection stuff because I kind of deal with other stuff.
Okay.
On my shows. But yeah, I'll talk about it if it ever comes up.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you go, but before I let you go, if you don't mind telling the good people where they can find you.
Awesome. Okay. I have a website. It's called thecryptidhuntress.com. And all of my shows are there. Any event that I'm going to be speaking at is on that website. And it's a great way if you want to get in touch with me. There's a little box that pops up and you can just send me a message and it goes straight to my email. So there also, I have an amazing YouTube channel. It's the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. Please go subscribe, like the videos if you like them, and hang out with me. I do a live show every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, I am a weekend host at Spaced Out Radio. I have a show called Off the Trails. You can find me there every Saturday and Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And those shows air on YouTube and Facebook and all over social media. But you can find me there. My shows are about cryptids usually, or anything that is paranormal and supernatural. It's on my shows. But yeah, I guess that's about it in a nutshell right there. That's where you can find me.
Nice. So I appreciate you giving me your time tonight. I know, like I've tell everybody, this wouldn't be much of a show if I didn't have people like you to talk to, because I'd just be talking to myself, and I don't know if that would be as entertaining.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure it'd be very entertaining. It would. I'd listen.
Yeah, I bet. You don't gotta lie.
No,
but
I'm not lying. I'd listen.
all right. I believe you now. You were very convincing. So, anyways, guys, that's the show. Please follow Jessica and like and subscribe all of her stuff. I actually watch her YouTube channel, so I think you'll like it. And what else? Where the weird ones are at gmail.com if you want to be featured on the show. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you have a good night, whatever time you decide to listen to this. And other than that, stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky. When the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish.